But I want to start off the show today talking about an article that I read this week, and it kind of goes to the point of, real estate values being controlled or influenced by what a home is close to. We've always talked about schools being important, and how home values in certain school districts can be higher or lower depending on the quality of the school. You have parts of East Hillsboro where there's really dominant great schools, even in New Tampa, and then obviously in South Tampa at Plant High School, where you have the boundaries in between the schools where houses on the same street, one in school district, one isn't, can see a substantial difference in price. And we've always known that being closer to downtown area and work, closer to main roads, closer to shopping centers always has a positive impact. But there have been studies recently about Starbucks and how your proximity to Starbucks can impact your value. In fact, Zillow wrote a book a couple of years ago about all these different data metrics that they learned in terms of building Zillow and Zestimates, and it was called the Zillow. I'm forgetting the name of the book. It was Zillow Talk. Zillow Talk was the name of the book, and it talks about how being close to a Starbucks allows housing prices to to rise. So I wanted to get you guys' thoughts about this, but obviously it's not just about Starbucks. Starbucks has a name, that's a brand that's well known. It's really just as much about being close to A-level restaurants, coffee houses, places like that people want close to their house. And that's what brings the value, because real estate, always goes back to location, location, location. So, Robert, other things, other places like the article obviously focuses on Starbucks, but are there any other places you can think of that across Tampa Bay that you think have a strong impact on value?
Oh, I'm so cynical when it comes to studies. Shockingly, it's one of those things where it's like the red wine study. I mean, hasn't Starbucks done a lot of their research, which is why they open a store in a certain area, because the values are getting better and everything else. So, but I will say in general, a lot of Starbucks, their model is to be in walkable areas. I mean, depending on if there's like a drive-through store they're wanting to open, which they do locally. But, I think being close to walkable areas, the more you don't have to use your car, not just walkable areas, but a walkable neighborhoods that have amenities, or urban type suburban areas, we've really seen the rise in real estate values. I think that even though they're saying that millennials are moving back to the suburbs, I think what we're seeing is the rise of urban suburbs.
Yeah. Well, and I think you're right. Starbucks has done their research, and they're not the only company that has done it. There's been studies about Trader Joe's, for example.
Well, even McDonald's. I mean, even McDonald's is the number one of the highest. I read one time that they're a real estate company that happens to own restaurants. So, they do so much market research before they open a store. So, you could say that about any company.
It's interesting because you're right. McDonald's is, especially with their franchises. Chick-fil-A is another one I think that does really well with their, franchise locations, being in areas where the real estate market is hot, because they know that they're going to go after a certain segment of the population that is going to want to eat there on a very regular basis. But nonetheless, where you live matters, and what's close by matters too. And that's something to keep in mind. Does that mean that every one of our customers needs to call us tomorrow and say, oh, I want to live within a mile of a Starbucks? No. It just means that studies have shown a propensity. It doesn't mean a guarantee. You could be able, right behind a Starbucks and still in a not great neighborhood with not rising values. It's not a guarantee. It's just studies have shown more of a propensity for home values to be rising around areas where a Starbucks pops up, because Starbucks is an enormous company that does a lot of research about where they want to be located. But other businesses do some of the same things. There's other popular businesses like that tend to gravitate around, growing walkable, areas like that. But nonetheless, it still goes back to location. And schools definitely are the trump card, no pun intended, for for that. They're going to trump being close to a Starbucks. It's going to be better to have great schools close by. So, and that's like the second time
in a row.
I know. I keep forgetting to turn the notifications off of my phone. So I promise I am a pro at this. I've been doing this like 8 years and I still forget. So, Mike, what are, when it comes to the mortgage side of things, location obviously matters for people. But I want to get at something else that probably matters even more. Mortgage lenders have some influence over the appraisers that they work with, and,
right.
and a lot of changes in the industry have happened, and we still have the challenge where certain mortgage lenders have appraisers that are coming from areas where they don't really know that local neighborhood. They don't know that there's a value associated with being close to that business or that school. They don't know that that school district is so powerful, and the fact that that house is in that district and not the other one, that other comps shouldn't be used. How important is it for you guys to find appraisers that really know their local markets?
It makes a huge deal just for those simple facts, and I know we use South Tampa as an example a lot, and it's because you see some big differences there from sometimes the same street, like you said. I can remember I had a loan, and it's probably been 2 years ago now, where the appraiser basically said if this house was in the plant district, which happened to be like 3 houses down, he would have appraised it for $100,000 more. So having an appraisal or an appraiser that's familiar with the area, local to the area, makes a huge difference in the lending side of it, because you don't want an appraiser coming from Orlando, for example, to do an appraisal in Tampa, because they're not going to know the market.
Unfortunately, it still happens though,
right?
And there hasn't been any change. There's been a lot of push by the National Association of Realtors and mortgage banker associations that where they say, hey, look, an appraiser should only be able to appraise in an area where they live or in a certain geographic area, but mortgage lenders, just like anyone else, sometimes are looking for the cheapest they can find. So they'll
right.
find an appraiser that will travel a couple of hours away and do it cheaper. But the reality is they're not getting the quality. It'd be like asking me to value a home in Orlando in a neighborhood that I've never sold a home in. And so that's the struggle we see on the other side of things, is that mortgage lenders still don't realize how hyper-local real estate is, and they think there's some sort of blanket approach to where they can apply a set of math and tell anyone and everyone that come from 2 hours away and you're going to come up with the right value for the house. And it's just wrong, right? Because they don't understand the value of that school district or that local business that a place is close to, and so I think that's something that definitely needs to change.
Right, and we vet our appraisers as well. So we all lenders have to basically send the appraisal out. You can't pick and choose, like, I want this one to go to this person or this one to go to this person. So
you have a panel of
right, exactly. We have an approved panel. They have to send in, and I don't remember the number off the top of my head, but a certain number of conventional appraisals, FHA appraisals, different loan types out there as well. And we vet them and review them before we'll even put them on our list. They have to be insured. There's a lot that goes into it with getting someone on your approval list as an appraiser, which we talk about this a lot too. It goes back to working with a local lender, because they probably have that access, whereas your bigger banks or an internet lender, for instance, they likely don't have those connections.
I mean, I still have it happen where we get we have organizations and companies that refer business to us from other parts of the country, whether it's real estate brokerages, whether it's referral companies or relocation companies, and I don't know if they just don't understand how to pull out a map or look at Google Maps, but they'll send us a lead and say, hey, can you help this customer in Gainesville?
Right.
It's like, I don't think you quite understand. Like, Florida isn't like some small little area. It's a pretty big geographic area. Gainesville is, no, I'm sorry, that's not a coverage area. Like, you need to find an agent in Gainesville, and it's one thing, like, if it's, obviously we cover the whole Tampa Bay area, so if it's St. Pete or Clearwater or Odessa or even Sarasota and Bradenton, we're going to be able to help the customer. But we get requests from people in other parts of the country where they're just like, oh, it's Florida, we'll send it to them. It's Florida. Well, it's a big state. And the struggle is some of these national lenders think the same thing.
Right.
Oh, this guy's in Gainesville, we'll send the St. Pete appraisal to him. We're with, such and such .com mortgages, and And so they don't realize it. And the guy in Gainesville sometimes will take it because he's hungry and he wants work. He'll drive
Right.
down and do the appraisal. But the problem is he's going to do it wrong. He's going to miss stuff. He's not going to know those boundaries. He's not going to understand that. And we see it happen far too often where even in a hot housing market like this, homes aren't appraising because of inferior, and it's not the appraiser's fault. I want to make that clear. It's inferior guidelines and protocols that the lenders have set up in terms of determining who their appraisers are. Should be tighter areas, much tighter areas. Keep the appraisers closer to home. They make more money that way too, so they're
Right.
not spending all kinds of money on gas. But as we talked about, some of these local things like a Starbucks, like a certain school district, like a Chick-fil-A, some of these things really help a neighborhood and a home value. And if you're using a comp that's within that proximity of that school district, versus one that's not, and not making an adjustment, you're doing a disservice. And it happens. I mean, I can't tell you the percentage, but it's a much higher percentage than I think people realize. How often the appraisers aren't using the right information. It's not their fault because they're given assignments to go to places that they're not really experts on. So